The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. My name is John Skees, and I am the Director of Media for TAPS. Thank you for joining us today for Session A of our new Fine Art Director training. I've got a couple of things to mention before we get started. First thing, this webinar is being recorded, and a link to that recording will be shared with you tomorrow. It's going to be emailed to you by GoToWebinar to the same email address that you registered with. If you have questions while we're going through the presentation today, please use the questions panel in the GoToWebinar interface. We're going to try to answer as many as we can while we go through the presentation, but there is going to be a Q&A session at the end for us to do some catch-up. If we don't have time for your question, or if it's just too specific or too detailed to answer appropriately in this venue, please send us an email, info@taps.biz, after the session. At the end of today's session, you're going to be able to download your certificate of completion from the handout section of the GoToWebinar interface, and I'll explain a little bit more about that at the end. And if you have any trouble with the webinar, please use that questions feature or the chat feature to get my attention, and I will help you as best I can. Okay, so we are joined today by Brian Bunselmeyer, the TAPS Executive Director, Robert Huckabee, TAPS Associate Director and Director of Compliance, Steve Prudhomme, TAPS Associate Director, Vina Williams, TAPS Director of Fine Arts, and Will Dixon, who is in charge of our live broadcasts, and he is running the keyboard for us in the TAPS office. And now I'm going to hand it over to Brian for some opening remarks.
Just want to thank everyone for joining us here today, and for those that join us later, the broadcast will be placed on our YouTube channel. We think it'll be a great resource as we go forward. We're glad to be able to put this together today. As we move forward, try to give you a little understanding of where fine arts fits in the overall product of TAPS, and also to help you understand a little bit better about what the role of the fine art director, the fine art program director, and how that all meshes with TAPS and what we can do to help you and what you can do to help us. So we appreciate you joining us here today, and we look forward to moving forward with your questions. Again, we do ask that you ask questions. We're here to help, we're here to serve, and we look forward to the rest of the day.
All right, Vina. Vina's going to give us a course overview. We've got session A this morning, session B this afternoon. She's going to give us a quick overview of the topics we're going to cover. Vina?
Okay, John, did we have a poll that we wanted to do?
Yeah, I had it lined up after your overview, but I can do that now.
Okay.
Folks, if you would like to let us know what role do you serve on your campus? All right, give it a few more seconds. About 70% of you have voted. We still have some votes coming in. All right, I'm going to close this poll, and Vina, back to you.
Okay, great. I'm so excited that you're here today. This webinar was originally slated for the schedule for new fine arts director training without having our convention. This is what we're taking place instead. In light of all the things going on, we thought we needed to invite other coaches, the activity directors, just so that we can get all on the same page for this new year. So session A, we're going to go over the history and the governance of TAPS. We'll talk about the calendar and dates and some resources for you. In this first session, I'll take a little deeper dive into the cheer, dance, music, and esports programs. And then at 2 o'clock, we'll continue on with how we communicate, eligibility, health and safety, and then also a deeper dive into the one-act play, art, academic, speech, and robotics programs. And then we'll talk about awards and our current plans and contingencies with the pandemic in our world. So before we get started, Steve, why don't you tell us about Red Pen Incentives, one of our sponsors?
Yes, Red Pen Incentives, which helps as a hotel planner and can help you as you have to make arrangements for travel. They'll get you the best price at the best locations, and this year it's going to be very, very important. So John, go ahead and roll Red Pen Incentives.
TAPS family, I'm Kelly Ditto with Red Pen Incentives and Red Pen Travel. We are absolutely thrilled to be the appointed convention manager, sponsorship manager for some new partners, as well as the hotel management partner. Unfortunately, we missed seeing you all at the convention this year. We tried really hard to pull it off, but it just wasn't in the cards. But please mark your calendar for next June 7th through 9. It's going to be a fantastic convention, and we will make up for missing this one. I want to talk to you briefly today about hotel blocks. So I know this is a bit of a burden for many of you guys, trying to figure out how to move your team, get the best, most efficient hotel rates, as well as logistics of just coordinating it as we move the TAPS events all over the state. I am thrilled to announce that I have a fantastic new back-end technology partner that's going to be helping Red Pen Travel be even more efficient with our hotel bookings. We will also be using our collective purchasing power to get better rates for you all. So please mark your calendar for August 5th. We will be having a webinar to quickly walk you through the simple platform and how you can either use our group blocks to get the best rates that we've collectively negotiated, or I have a dedicated team standing by to help you with your individual group blocks, figuring out the best rate and making sure that logistically it's an easy process to do. So as we move into this fall, goodness, who knows what it's going to look like. But with TAPS and all of our partners, we are here to try to maneuver it together with you to make it as smooth as possible. Looking forward to working with you all. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks to Red Pen, one of our great partners. Now we're going to jump into our presentation and begin with what is TAPS, who is TAPS, a little bit of history of our organization. I'm going to pass it off to Brian.
To kind of help you understand where we are now, I think it's important to understand where we were 48 years ago in Waco. 20 schools got together to look to provide opportunities for our students. Of those, I think football and track were probably the dominating theories. So the first two activities added were football and track, followed shortly thereafter by academics and speech, and then music. So it's interesting that the founders of TAPS recognized very quickly how important fine arts were and the crossover that's there. So a lot of times we get tagged with being a athletic organization, but to be honest with you, we have more students participating in fine arts than we do athletics. So we take a great pride in that. We're extremely excited about our fine art offerings. As you move forward, TAPS is the largest private school organization in the world. Our 228 member schools, followed by 6,000 coaches and sponsors and 41,000 students. As you go through that, and as we hit that recap, those numbers make us bigger than almost half the high school associations in the United States. So 228 member schools as of today. Last year we had over 41,000 students attending TAPS high schools, and 6,000 coaches, sponsors, program directors. So it's a pretty big community. I think it's an impressive group, and we have a lot of power over what we can and we cannot do. I'm extremely excited that as you look at those numbers, it's just a wide reach, from whether it be art, whether it be robotics, whether it be team tennis that we're moving towards having a competition this year. We're all in this same boat together. Just like you're in the same boat at your school, we're in the same boat here. We're extremely proud that the fine arts is part of, it's a big focus, just like athletics are a big focus, but they all go towards the overall offerings of our organizations and your schools. Steve?
Yes, and with all that, what exactly, Brian, does TAPS provide to the 228 member schools?
I think the biggest thing you look at is we're looking at the word opportunity. So we're going to jump in real quick, give you a high 10,000 foot view of what we provide. We provide governance. We determine who is eligible for TAPS participation, both on sponsor, student, and school level. We prepare rules, we implement rules, and if you're in the fine arts, the committees review the rules, they review the contest each year. Opportunities come up as each competition occurs to review what we're doing, especially in this digital age. We're moving faster than we've ever moved before, and I think our rules continue. They may be a little slow for some folks, but they do get better. Extracurricular for the athletics, the big thing is our districts. So we do, for most team sports, establish the districts, the rules, we enforce those rules, and we host championship events. And for extracurricular, we do establish districts for one-act play. It's the one thing that we do on a district or a regional level, and then we move forward towards the rules and enforcing the rules. So when you think about championship events, we host 30 championship events or tournaments across the year. So 30 weeks a year, 30 opportunities for us to get in front of the kids, in front of the students. Having that opportunity I will tell you that it keeps me young, just having that opportunity to stand in front and see the kids present. It's also important to understand that as we get farther along in the calendar, 30 championships events, and we're doing it in less than 36 weeks. So there's a lot of crossover that can cause frustration and confusion, but know that we're all in it together. Davina's here as our fine art director, is your voice back towards us and with the board, and we look forward to hosting those championships as we go forward. So I'm thinking we've got another poll question coming up. So John, if you've got that, we appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Okay, folks, we'd like to know how many years you've participated in a TAPS program or event. All right, folks, I'm going to shut this one down and hand it back to Brian in the TAPS office.
Okay. Well, I'll take it first here, John. This is Steve, and talk about the we are TAPS. Everyone is TAPS. So we always hear, well, TAPS is doing this, TAPS is doing that. Well, TAPS is the students, TAPS is the families, the teachers, the administrators, the staff, the governance, the board. We're all TAPS. So when we say that, that also reflects back in that we all are kind of carrying the load for TAPS, and we're also creating the situation where we're either going to have a positive or negative effect. And again, what we see from our point of view and our vantage point is unbelievable positivity, good experiences, great people. We have a great deal of pride in what we see year round. But again, don't forget we're in this together, and that's very, very important. And we are TAPS year round everywhere we go. So keep that in mind as you move forward. Now, as we go to the next slide, governance. And governance is something that we have to do. And that's something, again, that we need to do that together, understanding the rules, following the rules, and then we're here to explain them and enforce them. Brian?
I think one of the first key things is to get into what TAPS does govern and what we don't. So we're going to start on the negative side of that, what we do not govern first. So we don't govern who a school can employ. We don't govern who a school can accept as a student. And we sure don't govern what financial aid is given to the student. So we do not govern who a school employs. We don't govern who a school accepts as a student, and we don't govern how that student's financial aid, if any, is given. So as you think about what do we govern who can coach or be a director in TAPS. We govern which students can participate in TAPS. And we also govern if that financial aid that you're giving at your school level, does it violate or does it give an advantage to your school over another? Again, coaches in TAPS and program directors, of that 6,000 I mentioned earlier, 64% are part-time stipend or volunteer. That occurs in the fine art world as well. At times you'll have students who can participate in TAPS. At times you'll have students that are too old. They may not be in high school yet. We have rules that govern that, so we do dictate to a certain extent who can and cannot. And then every now and then you'll get a financial aid situation where it becomes a struggle. But we're going to walk through all that as we go forward. The financial aid part obviously does not apply as much to fine arts, but it does apply where we go forward. So as we continue to roll through what we can and what we can't do, Steve, talk to a little bit about where we can find opportunities.
Well, if you need to know the rules, and we expect you to know the rules and to have a question, you can go to the website and look through the bylaws. And you can find that by clicking on or hovering over the resource tab and going down to bylaws. And that's where you'll be able to find it's a searchable Google Doc. And if you take your time, go on down, and you'll be able to find what you need. And Robert will dive a little deeper into that.
All right, thanks, Steve. If you go to that page on our website, you click on that bylaws tab, it'll take you to a Google Doc. Takes a couple of seconds. It's a huge document, takes a couple of seconds to upload, but once it uploads, it'll pop up on your screen. The first thing you'll see is the TAPS Constitution. That's a couple of pages long. It's Articles 1 through 7. Those are the core tenets of membership and eligibility in our organization. After that, you scroll on down, you'll get into our bylaws section. We have a section of general bylaws. That's section 1 through 129. Then we move into our athletic bylaws. We have a general section there, and then a sports specific section. And then you move to our fine arts bylaws. Once again, there's a general bylaws section there that has general rules for our activities and events. And then you can scroll down and find program specific bylaws. So that's where you'll go if you have questions in general about the TAPS organization or about your specific event. Jump into our leadership. Our organization is governed by an executive board. That executive board is 9 members from our TAPS member schools. They're full-time employees at their member schools. They carry different positions there. Some are heads of school, some have and are in the fine arts world, and some are in the athletic world, but they are full-time members at our TAPS member schools, full-time employees. The basic requirements to serve on our board: you have to be at a member school that's in good standing. You have to have served on one of our leadership committees in the past. The typical, you kind of work your way up through the organization by helping, by assisting, by serving in a leadership role, and then you're selected to a board position. When those become available, those are renewed every 2 years. Brian, tell our listeners here a little bit about the TAPS staff and who we are and what we do here.
We're extremely fortunate that in the last few years, we've been able to grow our staff from a staff of 3 to provide much more opportunity. I've served as the executive director now for 7 years, moving into my 14th year at TAPS. Steve Perdome is our associate director, over 25 years in TAPS schools, and his 5th year in the TAPS office. Robert Huckabee, our director of compliance. He's the guy that tells you whether the rules fit or don't fit in the end. This is Robert's beginning his 4th year, but over 25 years as well at TAPS schools. And Dina serves as our fine arts director. So all together, we put it together. We try to provide that leadership opportunity. We're all here to answer your questions. Throw it out there. You'll hear it a few times: info, info at taps.biz. So if you go to www.taps.biz and you can't find your answer on your own, please feel free to drop us an email at info, info at taps.biz. As one of us becomes available, we'll definitely help you. But we don't do the hard work. The hard work is done by our director of media, John Skees. He came on last year. I think if you followed us on the social media and our media in general, we continue to get better with each day. Thank you, John, for taking care of us on that role. Kelly Bay is our director of events. She's the one that's going to call you, ask for your rosters, and ask for your pictures when you don't have them in, but she's also there to help plan the events behind the scenes. And Rhonda Smith, her opportunity is to assist the director mainly in the finance area. So if you get a bill, it's probably coming from her, not me. So those 3 are going to keep you rocking and rolling. Will Dixon is taking an expanded role. He's going to be our play versus, and he's going to be in the esports world with us this year. But he continues at the events. He is our director of media on site, for lack of a better words. He's also there to help assist as you go forward. Coach Gunlock, Bruce Gunlock, and Nancy Gunlock are assistants. Bruce is the one that's going to make sure your international student applications, your student not living with parents, etc., are all taken care of. So as a staff, we're here to serve you. Info, info at taps.biz. Drop us your question, or if it's easier for you to make a phone call, we do appreciate that as well. 254-947-9268. That's coming at a later slide, but if you're quick with the pen, 254-947-9268.
All right, thanks, Brian. Leadership opportunities in our organization. We have different committees over the years that we've had that assist in reviewing our governance, who assist in helping conduct various of our events and activities. Leadership Advisory Council was established many years ago. It's heads of school that assist counsel to the executive board. The Athletic Executive Committee is a committee of athletic directors that assist the executive board in researching and looking into particular issues, bylaws that do affect the world of athletics. Fine Arts Executive Committee, and also in the area of fine arts, we have different areas of committees that have content specific to a specific activity. Brian?
So whether it be the music committee, whether it be the art committee, the academic committee, et cetera, highly encourage you, if you want to become involved, drop us an email at info at taps.biz. Reach out if you feel like you're prepared and ready for a leadership opportunity in each of the content areas. Vina works very closely, as do we, with those committees as we review the rules, the competition, the opportunities that present themselves. So again, if you feel ready to step up and help us on one of those committees, please drop us that email. Vina will be our point of contact for you moving forward. Steve?
And that moves on to leadership on your campus. By the bylaws, the head administrator is the liaison, the representative, the contact point for TAPS. And they can delegate or designate different aspects of that, but they are the point person. In fine arts, your main point of contact for fine arts is going to be your fine art director, And in athletics, it's going to be your athletic director, again, working with the head administrator, and the head administrator making the final call. So I say that because especially as we're going into tough times, it's important that everybody on the campus is on the same page with what we do and how we move forward. Moving on, Will. Okay. Full-time teachers, part-time teachers, parents, and fans are all part of what we do. But if you are there with your students, whoever takes them, whether it's just a parent or whether it's a full-time teacher, they need to be certified. They're part of the eligibility process. And they're responsible for the rules and following the rules and bylaws of TAPS. So it's important that we take that very, very seriously, especially the times we're in right now. It becomes even more important. So again, know who you are. Make sure your people are well trained, and make sure you're very clear with your expectations. And moving on to our member activities, and on the athletic side, you can see that we have a great array of activities. We divide them up into fall, winter, spring, and summer. Some of these are Henderson Cup championships. Some of these are one-off events that we do, but again, it's a full plate. And Vina, what do we have for fine arts?
With fine arts, we've got music, which includes some fall and spring things, marching band, field band, drumline. And then also in the fall, we've got one-act play. Fall photo is part of our fall, our art program. Cheer, and new to this year is esports. In the spring, we have dance, and then we have a major fine arts 10-day bash that has art, photography, and short film with academic speech and debate and robotics, and all in a few days. And then choir, band, orchestra, and solo and ensemble is pretty much what consumes your music directors for a couple of months in the spring. And then esports will have a follow-up season again in the spring. I know that a lot of you are wondering, are we doing all this year? The answer is yes. We are planning every single one of our events this year. We understand that COVID may dictate the possibilities for our events, but we are looking into virtual options for those that will need it. So let's look at the calendar.
Yes.
If we could go ahead and go to the website, Will. And on the website, you've got that main black menu bar. If you click on the calendar, then that's where you find all our dates, our important things. So Brian, if you want to talk a little bit about what they are seeing there.
I think what we'll do is cover things first. We used to have a Google Calendar. The embed continued to struggle. So for those of you that used to have the Google embed and a direct notification to you, we've had to change off of that with the new website and with website constrictions. So www.taps.biz, click on that word calendar, it'll drop you down. And as you go across, this will be the official calendar for TAPS. The dates on there are right now as hardcore as we can be. We try to say that they're set in mud right now with COVID. We're not real sure when things are going to be, but it's our best opportunity. You will be receiving emails. We'll do posts when you go. We'll talk a little bit later about the Fine Art Director Corner, which will show you the latest post. Each page will have their post, but the calendar as a whole is constructed each year. We try to release it in January, and then as situations arise, we make additional changes. So it's easy to look at a calendar from one activity and have a hard time understanding, why does it start here? Why is it placed there? Why isn't it here? But as you go through that calendar, Will, and if you'll click over to the spring, definitely just keep clicking if you would. But our heads of school and over the years, and our board of directors who approves our calendar, the board has indicated that we're going to start on that first week in August, that first Monday in August, whenever possible, with our activities. And then as we go forward, we want to end by mid-May. So for those of you that are used to the public school version of the calendar, and you're used to seeing it, hey, we're going to do wind ensemble late in the year, and we're going to do academics late in May. Our heads of school are telling us they pretty well want those things done by May the 15th or thereabouts. So as you look at the calendar each week, it's full as we start beginning in March, and then by the time we get to April, you see every date has something going on. So we know you share your kids. We share those same kids as well. We like to claim yours as ours. It's kind of like that Big TAPS family. So we begin the first week in April. We march all the way through till the middle of May. And understand we do have to compress. We do have to also take into consideration when we can, the separation of not having a championship date on the same date as a major other opportunity. And of course, the struggle has always been and will continue to be those students that want to be in choir and band, they want to be in choir and or band, and they want to be in athletics. Or they are a student that is going to be taking all the AP tests the first week in May, and what does that overcome? So we've been asked numerous times, why do you schedule things on the same day as an SAT or an ACT testing date? I will tell you that with 30 events over the 36 weeks that we have an opportunity, we're going to hit a date every now and then. So it's important for you as a teacher. It's important for you as a sponsor. It's important for your administration to look at those testing dates, look at where our competition dates are so that you can assist the counselors. And if the counselors need to call us and work forward, we definitely will. Steve?
Also on your campus, make sure you know when the AP testing is, when the prom's going to be, when the major auction is, and get on that big calendar early. Make arrangements when they're going to do the retreat possibly. Some schools you have an option of going to retreat one week or another week, but make sure you're on board with your campus as you go forward. Will, we can move on to the next slide. And one of the things that we took in, and when we talked about our fall plan for TAPS, and we kept telling people over and over again, we didn't do that because we were just going to repeat 228 schools, 30 championships, 41,000 students are all factors in the plans that we make moving forward. Robert?
All right, thanks, Steve. Will, if we'll bounce to the next one, we'll pick up just a reminder about some important dates coming up in the next few months. September is our annual time when we send out contracts to our member schools. And as a part of that contract, you'll get a participation form that we need completed. That's your opportunity at the school level to check all those activities, athletics and fine arts, that you intend to participate in the upcoming school year. That comes up, those will be due September 1. Those will come out in August, they'll come to your school. And so make sure that you coordinate with everybody, with administration, with athletic, with everybody that participates in anything in TAPS, that they know in the fine arts world the things that you want to participate in so that we can plan accordingly. Another date coming up, this is coming up sooner in August 15th, we have a senior transfer deadline. Won't go into a lot of great details, but if you have seniors transferring to your school, just make sure somebody at your school knows there is that transfer deadline. They have to be in your school attending by August 15th of each year. If you happen to start after the 15th, they have to be in attendance on the first day that you hold classes. There are transfer deadlines for the fall, winter, and spring for all of our athletics. Those are important dates to keep in mind if you have students transferring in. And another big category is international students. There's eligibility standards that we have in place in the bylaws for international students. You may have a lot of these students in your particular area of fine arts. Just make sure that those students have completed all the information that's necessary for us to determine their eligibility in TAPS. And then as we move into the particular events, you'll have entry deadlines, you'll have event dates, you'll have our convention scheduled again next year. You'll have all those things coming up that will be important to you to keep up. Those are tracked on our calendar, and we also send out information by email and post, and they are posted on the particular pages on our website. Some important dates, next slide, Will, as we've dealt with the COVID-19 situation, ending the spring and then moving into our fall activities. Summer dates, we had summer activities going on. Dead Week applies to athletics. It does not apply to fine arts. We may get some questions on that. We've answered a lot of questions on that the last few weeks. But Dead Week is out this year. It has been suspended for this year. It will return next year. But with the limited participation with our schools, our executive board recommended that we suspend Dead Week this year. Start of school, we know everybody will be starting at different times. That is kind of the trigger at your school level of when you can have those kind of voluntary things over the course of the summer that your students may participate in when you move into the start of school and move into those programs at the school level, you can make those participations mandatory because you have all your kids captive at that point. You've got them during the day, you've got your schedule. We will be giving updates on everything that's going on with regard to our plans for the fall and throughout the year, beginning August 3rd, the 17th, and then 31st in 2-week intervals, basically. We are continuing to monitor the situation, and we will make adjustments as necessary.
Yeah, and Robert, I have a question. You kind of answered it, but will those events typically held in the fall, cheer specifically, be in the fall, or is there any possibility it'll be pushed to the spring? Brian?
As we sit here today, the calendar is the best we can predict. So our plan is to have it in November, just like it's scheduled, just like Drumline, just like One Act Play. Those will all be fall events. If the COVID-19 situation pushes us to move them back, then August 3rd, August 17, August 31, and throughout the fall, we're looking. So we are looking at alternatives. At the present time, we feel like our best course of action is to stay with what's on the calendar and move forward. I will say that we've had quite a few calls about whether you can still do a band camp or whether you can do whatever. That's definitely local discretion, local control. Highly encourage you to do what you normally do as long as your local administration approves it.
Yeah, we just can't get all the athletic department out of your way for a dead week for you to have a good camp, but hopefully your facilities will be able to host or whatever's being allowed in your area. Robert?
All right, thanks, Steve. We're going to shift gears and now go to some resources that are available in the world of fine arts. So Vina, take our listeners through this section.
So our resource link on the TAPSBiz website has a lot of information that is good for you to know. The alignment, actually for all the fine arts except for One Act Play, everybody just participates within their classification. One Act Play has districts, and then cheer has divisions with versus large schools versus small schools. But for the most part, your alignment for art and academics and music is all based on your classification. That resource link there also has the bylaws, which we've talked to. This will be where you can find certificates. Whenever we say you've got an all-state certificate or something, that link is there. There's also a professional development link that I want to draw attention to. We will be developing that page. That page will have a director's toolkit on it. Well, if you want to go to the next slide. Over the next month, we're going to be developing that toolkit, including some checklists for the fine arts director and checklists for each of the coach activities. So part of one of your jobs as the fine arts director is to make sure you have your list, but then that all the teachers that are assisting with their activity also has the list of what they need to do to keep up with TAPS. And we'll go over more detail in a little while. Also on the TAPS website, Will, if you can go directly to the website, that main bar at the top has the fine arts link and the calendar and the resources. But right now, if you go ahead and click on fine arts, this is our main fine arts webpage. That main fine arts webpage has links for our entry fees so that you can plan for the year. Most of the fine arts have entry fees for the events. And in order to allow your teachers to have as much time as possible, we don't ever collect the entries until maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the event. So a lot of you may need a month ahead of time to request a check or something where it takes a long time to get it through the business office and get that processed. So use that fine arts entry fees link. It'll have a list of solos being $15 for this, or an ensemble being this much. That is where you can find those ahead of time. Now, once entries are registered, we do give your coaches and directors a specific itemized list of this is exactly how much they pay based on what they entered. But that is one of the major questions I get throughout the year. So the fine arts entry fees there. That director's corner, currently it has the latest post for each of the activities that we have sent out. So if we sent out an email to our band directors, if you went to the director's corner, it will show the latest band director email as the tag there. It has, Will, if you can go ahead and click on it. It'll have each of the activities. It has one for anything the fine arts directors, that's your latest post. And so if you, obviously today, if you looked, it's got the webinar for today, the registration that we had sent out on July 8th. And so that was the latest release for pretty much all the coaches and directors that we sent out. So that Director's Corner is where you can get the latest and greatest news. If you were to want more, you could just click on one of the older entry buttons and it will take you to those specific things. So a theater director can say what's happening with one act play. You can see your latest post, but then you can also go back to older editions of emails that we have sent out. Also, if you can go back, Will, the fine arts page has, each activity has their own web page. Let's just click on cheer for now. Each of these individual pages has a sub menu bar. Will, can you click on cheer? That sub menu bar there in the middle has a link for rules, frequently asked questions, registered teams, honors, and another contact us link. Those are specific to each of the activities. So band, your menu might look a little bit different, but for the most part, it's got those, a rules link and then championship information things. We've also got important dates, championship information, preparation materials, and then over on the right, we also have, the sidebar has the latest news post, and generally it'll usually load one or two of them there. And then underneath that is our social media feed. John, could you say something about the social media real quick?
So we've got individual Twitter accounts for pretty much all of our activities. So the one you're seeing right now is @TapsCheer. I've actually got a list of all the fine arts Twitter accounts along with our main accounts that I'm going to put in the handout section at the end of this session. So you'll be able to see. But that's where we put content specific to that sport. So during the cheer championships, that's where we're announcing our winners. Excuse me. That's where we would like you, if you've got a cheer program Twitter account or a dance program Twitter account, or if you're tweeting something about that that activity, to tag us so that we can kind of share that story with our members. We like to retweet things. We keep an eye on things. Some things we need more content for, like robotics. I can't find enough things to tweet about that, but we've got that list for you, and you'll be able to see it at the end of the session.
Thanks, John. Will, we can go back to the presentation. So we're going to take a moment to look a little bit deeper into a few of our activities. And the main reason why I'm going through this little overview for each of the activities is so that you know what your school offers. You know, a lot of times I hear that there are so many athletic things and my kids are being drawn from all these athletic things because it's the after school thing. But we do have programs that in some schools where the fine arts are only during the school day. And then we also have some schools where fine arts are only after school. So I did want to let you know, we'll take a closer look at a few of those right now. And so we'll start with cheer. Cheer is fairly new. We've had just about 5 years of competition with cheer, and we are evolving into a bigger and better thing every year. It falls under fine arts for TAPS. So even if cheer is under your athletic director at your school, for TAPS, it's under fine arts. So as a fine arts director, you need to be in the know for all things cheer as well. We do follow that. We have a set of TAPS rules, but we also have the NFHS, the National Federation of High Schools, spirit rules. So it's important for you to tell your cheer coaches that there's this rule book that they also need to be aware of. Now, when it comes to, we mentioned earlier, someone was asking about band camp, cheer camp, same thing. Because cheer is under the fine arts and not under athletics, we have a little more flexibility with when you can you go to other camps? Can you participate in these other events throughout the year? And fine arts does not have any regulation about what kind of enrichment or extra team can they be on a team, a city team, cheer team, and things like that. So there are no regulations for that. For the TAPS competition, we do have a few different options. Historically, we've had it on a two-day event. The last couple of years, we were at the Bell County Expo Center. And last year we did well, actually it was 2 years now, we've done our Spirit Squad. Now, Spirit Squad versus traditional squad. Now, some of you say, well, we don't really have a cheer team, or we can't take our cheer team because they're not, they don't do stunts, or they're just starting out. So we have what we call our Spirit Squad, and that is just the band chant and the crowd leading. They do a fight song, and they can do their jumps and formations and things on transitions. However, the Spirit Squad doesn't do any stunting. There's no tosses, no pyramids, and no tumbling. It is just the feet on the floor unless you're jumping kind of sideline cheer. So most of you have a sideline cheer squad that is cheering at your football games, at your basketball games. Those are the types of things we can do as a cheer squad. We also have our traditional competition squad where you do the cheer, a dance, but you're also able to do stunts and the tosses and the pyramids and the tumbling. So both of those will compete in 2 separate championships. So your cheer coach can choose. Do I want to do Spirit? I don't have any, all my kids are new this year. They're all freshmen and we've never done any stunting. So you could do Spirit. Or say, you know what, we're going to try to do, tosses and pyramids, and my kids can do a cartwheel, so we're going to do the traditional. Now, the way it's set up, your cheer coaches will know all this, but it's based on the amount of the level of skill. But one thing that we added this year at our event was the ability to be judged on the difficulty that you performed. And so in addition to your schools being ranked in your division, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th place, we also have a rating award. Sorry, I didn't want to mix that up. A rating award, and it's based on a superior performance or an excellent performance on the execution of your routine, regardless of how difficult they performed. So your team might be an intermediate level, but they can still be awarded a superior plaque for performing, even if their skill wasn't as difficult as another team doing some elite skills. So that is something new, and I think it went well last year for us to have that award. We also do a mascot contest. That's pretty fun to watch, and it gets the crowd going. And we do an individual jump off and tumble off where the students have an opportunity to just strut their stuff individually. And then last year we were able to invite open division for a second squad. So if you have a traditional squad that does the cheering with the stunts and tosses, tumbling, and then you also have like a pep squad that just does sideline cheer, you could bring a second squad for an open division. Now they won't compete for the championship, but they will have we will have winners within that division as well. So that could be your JV group or just a pep squad in that. We do have a new sponsor this year, Express Cheer. Chris Henson has been with us over the years, working at our events for I guess since the first year we had. He's been at multiple, and we do have something from him. So, Will?
I'm Christopher Henson. I'm the owner of Express Cheer, and we are based out of Frisco, Texas. We have worked with TAPS Cheer since its inception. I originally sat on the board when it was conceived and created. So I've been part of the background, and I've served in a bunch of different capacities in regards to TAPS Cheer, the organization, the structure, and things of that nature. So I think part of the value that we bring to the TAPS organization is that we have an understanding of the community, what they consider to be important, the values for the community, and the overall understanding of what the program is. We offer a variety of different opportunities. Clearly, one of the biggest things is we have produced and been a part of the production of the TAPS state championship. In addition to that, we also offer ongoing education and support for coaches, administrators, and campuses, everything from sports equipment to training, off-site camps, on-site camp, the ability to be able to interface and connect them to other people in the industry that might be able to fill their needs if we are unable to. So I really see us as an overall resource for TAPS cheer specifically. And I think what kind of makes us special is that we were part of the grassroots movement for TAPS. So once again, I think we have a really good understanding of what the community is. And we've also interfaced and been personally inside of a lot of the TAP schools. So not only do we understand what the organization as a whole wants to accomplish, I think that we're kind of in the trenches a lot of times with the coaches. And so we've been a part of those training sessions, understanding what some of their challenges are as they prepare for championships. So I think we have a kind of a full spectrum and understanding of what a coach needs, what they're looking for, and we are able to service from the most novice coach to the most advanced coach, from the most novice program to the most advanced program, and we find a place for everybody. We're excited to take on this new endeavor, whatever that looks like, especially in our current climate, that we're working diligently on a daily basis with the TAPS office and the organization to make sure that we provide opportunities to continue to engage students emotionally, socially, and physically. So we're excited, whatever that looks like for this season, to be a part of that and help brainstorm and problem solve to keep the kids engaged.
So we are looking forward to that partnership with Express Cheer this year. We just want to make sure that we are bringing you some good things. So we also do plan to have some educational opportunities for that Chris will assist with us, some cheer specific webinars and other things that will help gear your cheer coaches in the right direction for the year. Next, I'd like to go ahead and talk about the dance program. Dance is also fairly new in the grand scheme of things. It does also fall under under TAPS for fine arts rather than athletics. There are the NFHS Spirit rules that will also apply, not so much with cheer. They have all the safety legalities of what's legal and what's not legal on stunts and things, but there are some NFHS rules for dance that you will need to make sure that your dance coach also gets those Spirit rules. Same with cheer. There is no regulation if they want to attend other dance events or camps throughout the year or in the summer, then that is okay. For our TAPS competition, it's a one-day event. They perform a dance in the morning and then a dance in the afternoon. They get to choose which type of dance they want to perform, but they just choose two. And then they are ranked. This varsity team is ranked first through. And then there's also an opportunity. Last year, we opened up for small ensembles to perform a single dance, as well as solos to perform a single dance. And then at the end, while we're waiting for the judges to compile all their results and we get things settled, we have a really awesome individual contest where the girls go out in rows and they do a high kick routine, and then they can do leaps and turns, and it is really cool just to see these students in their element. They've worked really hard and they just get to highlight their special stuff all by themselves right there. And so that's really awesome. Fun thing at the end. And it's really neat just for all the the dancers to just be crowded in this room to do that. So that's a really exciting event. Our sponsors for our dance program is American Dance and Drill, and Joyce Pennington and Brittany Villatina. They've worked with us the last couple of years to bring our judges, and it's been really fun for them. And it's been really exciting for me to have someone that really knows dance to help our committees along the way. So we've got a message from Joyce.
Hello, my name is Joyce Pennington, President and CEO and owner of American Dance Drill Team. Our company was founded in 1958 by Gussie Nall Davis, the creator and director of the world-famous Kilgore College Rangerettes, and Dr. Irving Drybrote, who was band director at SMU for 25 years. Our company was created by these two leaders in the precision dance industry to provide quality summer camp instruction for teams, as well as being the first of its kind in the United States. For over 60 years, our company has continued to lead the industry with providing quality educational opportunities with our summer camp programs, including instruction and leadership for dance team officers, as well as innovative choreography and instruction for teams through our managed camps at hotels and college campuses, in addition to the private camps where instructors are on site at their own school campuses. We add motivational activities for the team as well as professional development for directors at each of our camps. We also offer 20 different contest locations where groups and individuals can compete for regional, state, and national awards. With an adjudication staff of over 130 dance educators, we pride ourselves in providing the most fair and rewarding competitions in the industry. American Dance Drill Team also offers some great feature performance opportunities for top individuals as well as award-winning teams. These performance opportunities include the halftime for the San Antonio Spurs NBA basketball game, halftime for the Citrus Bowl in Orlando, and the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Additional unique opportunities have included performances at World Cup soccer games, in addition to several Super Bowl halftimes where we provided up to 800 high school and college dancers as field performers in the show. With over 30,000 students that annually attend our events, it is our goal to provide the most positive experience for each of the dance teams, directors, and spectators that attend our events each year. We consider it an honor to be able to work with TAPS for their state dance competition, director coaches convention, and online professional development. Thank you for choosing American Dance Drill Team.
As she mentioned, we are excited that we will be offering some more professional development throughout this year with their assistance. Okay, we're going to move on into our music programs. We have in the fall we have fall band, which includes marching band. Now, some of you may say, well, we don't have a marching band, but we do put our during the football game halftime show, we have a band that goes out there. It's just not the traditional marching band. Well, that's why we have our non-marching field bands. We have lots of bands that go out on the football field and they perform at the halftime show or they perform in the stands for the games. And this is what we're asking for the field band, is that if you've got a group out there performing, we want them to be able to come and be adjudicated so that they can improve their programs and get some feedback on how well they're doing. And so we have that non-marching field band category. At the same time of that event, on a different field, we've got our drum lines. The drum lines are usually more than 3 or 5 people. So if you've got a couple of drummers, then it's okay if it's just a few. And then we've got some where Drumline's a club at the school and you've got your trumpet players playing a drum just for this event. And so some of the programs are up to 35 students. So Drumline is happening at the same time as the field band, and I work with the schedule to make sure that if you enter both, then we can, both groups can perform that day. It's a really exciting time. After they perform, they get this clinic from a really awesome drummer or band director that's been doing marching band, and it's a 10-minute time where this really cool person just shows them more technique. They can demonstrate, and they just spend a good 10 minutes with them, extending their performance opportunity. So more, not just performing for adjudication and award, but they also get that clinic with that person in the specialty department. In addition to that, in the spring, we have our usual concert ensemble with band, choir, and orchestra. And we also have our medium ensembles at that event. Now, medium ensembles is great for the developing ensemble. You might have a beginning band that you can't quite get a full concert band, but you've got maybe 10 students of mixed variety of instruments, and you're thinking, we don't have a concert band, but can they do something? So we have a developmental ensemble, medium ensemble category that they can join in. And then we also have specialty ensembles like jazz bands or show choirs, sacred ensembles. Some of the schools might enter their large ensemble with all their students in high school, and then they might have maybe their juniors and seniors audition for a chamber choir. And so they can enter in that sacred ensemble group. Our solo and ensemble is brought to you across the state. We have 5 locations, Lubbock, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, and the DFW area, where we do the solos and the small ensembles. Closer to home, so usually it's not an overnight trip. It's a go drive that day, perform, and then go right back home. Because it is so close, there are some schools that will send the kids in small groups so that they're not actually missing a full day of school. So one thing that I want to encourage you, some of your schools don't have a band, choir, or orchestra to participate, and you think, I don't have a band, so we can't do band. However, you can still sign up for music if you have a student that might take flute lessons or piano lessons. We have a lot of students that just take piano lessons, and they've been playing since they were 3. And we want you to know that there's an opportunity for those students. You don't have to have a band or a choir or orchestra to be able to sign up for music if you want those students to just come and participate in the solo and ensemble. You can you sign up for music, and we can get them scheduled to perform at that solo and ensemble event. We'll have more details on eligibility, but one of the questions are, can we use our 8th graders or our 7th graders in our band? And the answer is yes. We do have an approval process for the concert band. The directors have to fill out a form. Majority high school has to be a majority of high school. But we do allow for those 8th graders to fill the group for those larger ensembles. We do have a great music committee with just full of great musicians and mentors, and they love sharing their experience and helping each other, other teachers throughout the year, so they can connect schools with resources. You know, one day we had a school just wondering, what do I do with this? I've got 3 flutes and 7 violins and a cello, and I sent them to one of our committee members, and they were able to give them, hey, try this song, it'll work great. And then I heard that song later in contest, and it was awesome. So, and then the last thing we introduced it last summer in 2019 was our honor choir. They performed at the convention, and so students that performed a class 1 solo at solo and ensemble and received a 1, they got an invitation to the honor choir, and they performed for our general session. It was a really awesome thing. So we're looking forward to doing that again, hopefully soon. Our sponsor for our drumline event and marching band has been Innovative Percussion, and they have helped with providing clinicians, those clinicians that have given the feedback and the hands-on sessions, has been sponsored by Innovative Percussion. Okay, we're back with talking about esports. New to TAPS this year is with our sponsor is Play Versus. We will be introducing a fall and spring season for esports. Currently, there are 4 games on the lineup that you can choose from: League of Legends, Rocket League, Smite, and Fortnite. These, your kids are playing these video games at home. Why not have a school team? The teams could be as small as 3 people for some of the games, and some of them are 5 people. So you might just have a team of 3 people that say we want to play Rocket League, and 3 is enough. You might have a group of 12 kids that want to play Rocket League, and Play Versus has many resources to help you decide how to build those teams, how to start those teams. On our website, we do have great links to get you started. Well, if you want to go to the next slide. We have what is esports and Play Versus, starting your esports program, hardware and network specifications, things like that are all on that Play Versus website page. We have done some Play Versus esports specific webinars recently on starting a team. And so I want to encourage you to go and catch up on those if you weren't able to join those last week. John, could you tell them where to find those videos and the podcast?
Sure, folks. So we've got 2 webinars that we've already done on esports, and we have a Taps Talk podcast episode coming out. The links to those webinars we're going to put in the chat, and there's also going to be a handout in the handout section that's got links to our 2 webinars, kind of an overview of esports, and then one of them is how to get your team up and running and be competitive for TAPS championship play. And then we have an episode of our podcast, Taps Talk, that's devoted to esports that's probably coming out the end of this week or next week. You can hear a teaser to that right now, and I'm going to put that link in the chat. We spoke to teachers, an administrator, and students at 3 TAP schools that have already had esports programs running for the past year, 2 years. So you get to hear what they've kind of went through in their learning process and how it's benefited their communities, and all that information is available. And you're going to have a handout, and it's going to be in the chat in just a second.
So with our Play Versus and our esports program, Will Dixon, like we mentioned at the beginning, he is going to help me manage this. And so when you have questions, those will go to Will, and he will take as much as he can with that. Play Versus has their Clint and James, who have been helping us partner with them. They have been helping us get all the resources that we need and the education for that. And we have a sponsor role from them as well. Just a fun fact while we're letting that roll. My husband and I owned a gaming center for 10 years, and I will tell you, gaming was a part of our lives for quite a while. Not so much mine anymore, but
I'll also add that I've been helping the esports, the Play Versus people that I've actually started playing one of the games that they're talking about. So here's their hype video for last year.
Super.
There's always a spark, a flicker, a brief disruptive force, an incitement to action. A moment where you say, I will not be pushed, and you find your reason to push back. What ignites you? Is it the moment, the teammates you shared with, or how you know that your path is no longer the same? What ignites you? When potential becomes talent, or when bonds prove stronger than adversity? Whatever ignites you, that's where Play Versus will be, a stage for you to shine. And it all begins with a spark. Sign your school up for the fall 2020 season today at playversus.com.
Okay, so that was our first session. We do have time for some question and answers. So if you want to send those in, you can use the chat feature there.
All right, Vina, we've got a couple we'll catch up on. I'll take these. One related back to cheer. Can cheer practice right now? For example, volleyball and football, our fall sports, have some restrictions that they're in guidelines that they're moving through. Yes, cheer can practice. That's a local decision for you and your school's administration. based on your protocols, based on your program, and in today's environment, based on the locale that you're in. If you think that's safe to do and you can do it, you're welcome to do that. Once again, cheer and dance, while they're certainly very much skill and athletic related, they are not regulated by our athletic bylaws. They are regulated by our fine arts bylaws. So you could have cheer practice. You could do those things now and moving into when you start school. Another question we have is, are there any decisions made yet about spectators at performance events like cheer, band, and music? The answer to that is no. We have been and will continue to review that situation. We know our schools are looking at protocols for fans or spectators at some of our sporting events, and we will be coming out with some guidelines that will assist in that area. We got a couple of esports questions. Vina and John, I'll kick these to you guys. Is esports only for high school students?
So with Play Versus, they allow 14 and older to be on the team. And same thing we do with robotics. With First in Texas, they allow 7th through 12th grade do robotics. So with Play Versus, if your student is 14 or older, they can play, even if they are an 8th grader. And most of that has to do with the game maturity levels. They're choosing teen and up, and those are rated for 14 and older. And so just to be on the same page, if you're in a Play Versus season with not just through the TAP season, they do have teams that are 14 and older. The other question is, will esports be a Henderson Cup event? And this is our first year, and we do have some Henderson Cup events for our events that have been long standing. And then even with athletics and fine arts, we do have some events that are non-Henderson Cup. So this year, esports is not a Henderson Cup event. It is exhibition only. However, we will have a TAPS champion in the end.
All right. A couple of Henderson Cups. You picked those up as well. Vina, a question about discussion about one-act play. No, not yet. We'll cover that in the next session. I think we've picked up, here's one about any guidelines for stunning. Vina, can you, in the cheer world, can you visit with them about stunning and guidelines?
Sure. Right now, TAPS does not have any specific regulations for that. However, it is a contact sport. And so the NFHS hasn't released anything about the safety of, sharing viruses and things like that. If there is something that is sent out, we will send that to you. You as a coach, as a fine arts director, will need to determine if that's something that your school can do at that local level.
All right. Here's a great Henderson Cup question. What is the Henderson Cup? Well, for our new people to TAPS, it is our year-long competition. So for all of our activities, whether they're athletic or fine arts, as you compete in those activities, and in the world of athletics, you maybe win a district championship, you move throughout the playoffs, and hopefully advance far in the playoffs or win a championship. You're awarded points for basically what you accomplish and how far you proceed throughout that season. The same is true in fine arts, okay? And actually, year in and year out, those are awarded 1A through 6A. So you're competing against the schools that are in your classification based on enrollment, and those points are accumulated throughout the year for all of your athletics, all of your fine arts. There are many, many fine art activities, and what we see year in and year out is many of our schools that compete for and win the Henderson Cup actually probably have more fine art participation and success, and they rack up a lot of points in that category as much as athletics. So it is a year-long competition. We award those at our convention each year, 1A through 6A. There's a Henderson Cup overall points winner that we track and award each year. Great question. Here's a question. Here's a question about, is marching band allowed to have summer camps? Are there any time restrictions? There are no restrictions. Once again, fine arts is not regulated by those hourly contact restrictions that exist in the world of athletics. So whether you hold a camp and how you do that, that's up to your local school administration. Vina, here's a question about music contests. Will they be in person or through online submission this year?
Our desire is for everything to be in person, although we know that that might not get to happen. So with all our events, we are looking at virtual options. That could be in music, a submitted recording or a login and perform for an adjudicator through a virtual app. And so we are working towards those plan B, plan C options. We don't want to cancel anything. And so part of our planning will be looking at the technology needed and what we need to do in order for us to have a championship event and performance opportunities. And that goes across all the board for all our fine arts events.
Yes. Here's a question. We'll get to academics this afternoon, but here's a good question. Will the academics resources and topics be the same for this year as they were last year, since we didn't get to use them last year?
They actually will not. The UIL has already posted up the reading list for this year, and I believe we have those posted already on our website.
Yes, those will change. We won't use the same topics and same resources, and they are posted on our website. If you have specific questions related to that, always reach out to us, info@taps.biz, and we can help you walk through any of that information you need. Vina, I think that's all the questions we have at this point. What I'll do quickly as we begin to close this webinar and look toward having you with us again this afternoon is look at what's coming up in session B. Session B this afternoon, we're going to talk about communication. How will you get information from us? How will you communicate with us if you have questions and need information? Eligibility, we'll walk through that. That applies to our students in athletics and fine arts, and those are things that you need to know. Health and safety, activities. Vina will dig a little deeper, like she did this morning, this afternoon, into the activities of one-act play, art, academics, speech, and robotics. So look forward to those coming this afternoon. And then current plans and contingencies. We'll visit with you a little bit about some of the questions that everybody's having now with regarding to our plans that we published last week, and then looking toward if any changes are necessary. So I think that's all we have for this. John, we'll pass it back to you to let our listeners know what they need to do to get all their information and close us out.
Okay, folks, thanks for being with us today. I've got several handouts for you in the handouts section. So if you're looking at your GoToWebinar control panel, there's a tab that says handouts. You're going to see 4 PDFs. You click on those links, it's going to open in your browser, and then you can download from there. We've got a certificate of completion for the first part of this training. For those of you who need to document your continuing education, that's there. We've also got a list of links to fine arts media selections. So some of the webinars that we've talked about, the podcast episodes that we talked about. We had one on TAPS cheer. So for those of you who are thinking about which, say for instance, which cheer program should you pursue, traditional or spirit, we've got interviews with coaches who participated last year who talk about that, kind of walk you through their thought process and really give you an overall feel of what it's like to attend that competition. We've also got links to our TAPS TV Rewind, which we did last spring that has broadcasts of our dance competition, our fall band competition, marching band, drumline, dance. That's all in there. There's even some photographs of one-act play just to kind of give you an idea of what these events look like for those of you who are new. We've also got a list of our social media accounts for fine arts. That list is in there. And we've got our esports resources. That is also there. So go ahead and download those. Folks, again, these sessions are both going to be recorded, and if you've registered for right now, you've already registered for this afternoon session, which starts at 2. You're going to get links in your email tomorrow with recordings of both of these sessions. So if something came up and you can't be with us this afternoon, you are going to be able to review this material. I think you should have all had time to download those handouts. If you still can't get to them, I will have them available in the beginning of the afternoon session. And if you have any other questions, please let us know. Again, that email is info@taps.biz if we didn't get to your question or if you think of something else. And with that, I think we will see you folks this afternoon. Thank you.